Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Swallowed Star based on novel. So let's start. Within the vast darkness, there was silence. The bridge extended deep into the darkness. Luo Feng's heart was cool and yet was burning with fighting spirit. The 21st Guardian. Complete space laws. Luo Feng thought. Even an emperor pinnacle, or limit, or an invincible emperor, they were mostly stuck at the 20th level. While their talent and comprehension may not be that different, and they may have even more resources and treasures, however they were still all stuck at this point. Why? Because this last step was simply too hard. True Yang, with his many techniques and resources, could match even a knight, yet even he still couldn't finish this step. This one step meant a step to heaven. No matter how powerful an emperor is, he is but a strong warrior in the universe, as the knights were the true absolute beings. And the Qiansha Palace leader, and Shiluo Duo were absolute beings of the universe. As for the primal chaos city leader, and other such beings of that level etc., those were already pinnacle beings of the universe. The 20th to the 21st level may seem like just one step, however, the difficulty of this one step was not lower than the first 20 levels combined. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Luo Feng slowed down, the end of the bridge was right before him. Located there was a 2m diameter ball that had caused the space around to tear. Large amounts of space fragments surrounded it. Every 3 levels of the heavenly bridge is a new environment. The 19th to the 21st was a black hole environment, and flying outside earlier allowed me to see the black hole. Luo Feng looked at this ball. Since it was but a background image, he couldn't feel any effects of the black hole gravity at all, and no light was being sucked in. A true black hole was something that couldn't be seen with the eyes. In the Earth era, there were even debates about its existence. However, the universe had long made it clear. It was a heavenly body that had been compressed to an ultra degree. This was much higher than a star or planet. It was a super evolution of a star in the universe, and it would swallow everything, including ships, stars, asteroids and so on, strengthening itself constantly. Black holes could be separated into weak and strong ones too. The stronger ones had a greater area. Even a weaker black hole would require at least a night to actually enter its core. The stronger ones were avoided even by knights. Pick your opponent. Fighter, controller, illusionist, pick one, and if you defeat him, you will pass the 21st level and become a knight. A voice resounded from within the black hole. Controller. Luo Feng wielded the beast god armament, saying directly. A large black dot suddenly floated above, forming a human silhouette. He was covered in black armor and had a mask on. He carried a huge blade on his back. This huge blade was actually formed from a blur of fragments. It was some special spirit weapon. Your Majesty Luo Feng, to meet a sector Lord Challenger is my honor. The Guardian stood above the black hole and floated. To battle against the 21st Guardian is my honor too. Luo Feng smiled too. I have to say, without completely comprehending the space laws, you will not pass my level. The Guardian was very graceful. However, I will let you feel the strength of the complete space laws. After passing the previous levels, you should already know that I'm unable to use the beast god armament. I know. Luo Feng nodded. Theoretically, choosing controller should result in the Guardian using the same spirit weapon as himself. Back then when he used the Nanshan armament, it was a space-type spirit weapon, mixed with gold laws. This was a mix of the laws, but not a fusion. The beast god armament, however, was a fusion law weapon. This fusion made it so that it was no longer just a space or gold law weapon, but it was of a higher level, a fusion of the two laws. Your Majesty, please make your move. Once I attack, you won't have a chance. The Guardian laughed and seemed respectful. Then take my attack. Luo Feng wasn't arrogant at all. Rumble. The beast god armament immediately shot out fragments that were imbued with law engravings within, forming tens of thousands of threads that swiftly interweaved. Luo Feng stared at his opponent, his powerful willpower and world energy triggering the many fragments, after which 100-meter-long beast god appeared. Howl! The beast god became a beam of light and rushed at the Guardian, as the surrounding space was torn apart. Seal! The Guardian pointed at the howling beast god. A powerful formless binding instantly descended. The beast god that was rushing forward suddenly stopped, and Luo Feng floating, who was in the distance, was stuck too. The sealing power was strong, as even the beast god was held back. Luo Feng was shocked in disbelief. The complete space law's power exceeds your imagination. The Guardian was very graceful. You should feel proud that you managed to get to this level. However, the complete space laws isn't something you can, what? He looked shocked at Luo Feng. Luo Feng's gaze was filled with madness. The veins on his face were twitching, almost like when he reached the limit of the life or death inheritance back then. Back when he attempted the primal sky mountain, he had only unleashed his spirit energy amplification, and he didn't even push his willpower to its limit. But this time, he unleashed it. Pushing his willpower and consciousness to their limit, the form he took when he was at his limit at the inheritance before. Tail whip. Break. He howled. With his willpower as the commander and consciousness as the general, he controlled his world energy, and poured his beast god presence that had been trained over countless years into the beast god. At this point, the beast god projection seemed almost lifelike. It didn't even howl, simply whipping its tail strongly. Ge. The space about trembled. The beast god's tail seemed slow, but it moved steadily. With rumbling all around, the sealed space was completely broken apart. Kill. The graceful Guardian before starred with ferocity. He was no longer graceful, as the huge blade on his back became countless gold lights and flew into the air, forming a huge arc blade. This arc blade slashed at Luo Feng, creating a huge tear in the space around it. Luo Feng controlled the beast god to defend. Even though the speed was slow, the blade slashed past the entire beast god, causing it to crumble. After which, its speed soared again. Luo Feng was unable to escape this slash, as it destroyed Luo Feng's life core. Luo Feng fell. Failure. Watching him vanish, the Guardian's eyes once again regained its calm from before. He said softly, "What terrifying willpower, to actually force me to use my kill technique." Even the knights that have passed the 21st level, when they were knights, very few had willpower like that, and his only a sector lord. In the center region of the Heavenly Bridge, Watchman Bevan watched Luo Feng's battle on a screen that floated before him. He had originally wanted to smile and joke about with Luo Feng, as this was something he found interesting. However, his expression changed very quickly. Seal, he actually broke through the seal. He forced the Guardian to use his kill technique. Watchman Bevan was stunned, and his mouth opened wide. All the Space Guardians, even though they may use different weapons, they all still had 3 moves: seal, kill and teleport. These were the evolution of the normal moves of the space laws, and they were very powerful. Amongst which, kill was the one with the highest offensive ability. And seal was normally used on weaker opponents. Only when they met opponents that were hard to deal with would they be forced to use kill. Meeting an opponent of the same level, they would be forced to use all 3 moves together. Primal Chaos City, Tru Yang's quarters. Tru Yang sat silently in his yard, facing Luo Feng, who finally opened his eyes. "Ha ha, Luo Feng, congratulations on passing the Primal Sky Mountain and the 20th level of the Heavenly Bridge." Tru Yang hugged the bottle of purple flame ape wine. "I still thought you'd stop right after the Sky Mountain. I didn't expect you to go attempt the Heavenly Bridge. The 21st Guardian is very powerful, eh? He is very strong indeed. Seal alone was absurd." Luo Feng nodded. With just seal alone, if his willpower was any weaker, or he didn't have the 32 times spirit energy amplification, he wouldn't even have been able to break through. It was obvious that the 21st level was hundreds to thousands of times harder than the 20th level. "Of course it's strong." Tru Yang laughed. "Our space law techniques can be split into teleport, kill and bind. These are the 3 distinctions, and as we have to train them individually, it takes an extremely long time. And the three combined form the complete space laws. Only when they are fully combined will they be complete. The difference in power is huge. A complete space law seal, that's the true seal. The knights can easily use it on the normal undyings. In all, simply comprehending one side of it compared to the entire complete thing, has a difference of thousands of times. Just like the God body. Our human emperors, along with their comprehension of the laws, the amount of stable God energy we can condense is only 100,000 times that of sector lord energy. However, the moment we become a knight, using the complete space laws, the God body condensed from that far exceeds ours. Just that difference, with the difference in law comprehension, soul amplification, genetic evolution, and God body amplification, treasures, techniques, will naturally be much stronger than us emperors, creating a huge difference in levels altogether. Of course, some special beings like Seven Blade, and me, with true treasures, we can exceed normal knights. With our created techniques and special encounters, only because of these, I have the right to be considered an invincible emperor, who is able to flee from knights. However, that's only for surviving. Luo Feng nodded. Comprehension at the 20th level was still fragmented, but the complete space laws were much more powerful. Don't worry about these. In just a short 10,000 years, you've already created a name comparable to Seven Blade, and are very close to me. You are impressive enough. If you go out and listen, you will realize that right now everyone in Primal Chaos City should all be discussing you. True Yang laughed. Who cares what goes on outside? Your job now is to drink with me and celebrate. No one can drag me away. I'll drink with you, give me more. Luo Feng said. True Yang stared and hugged the wine. 1 cup is enough to get drunk, yet you want to drink more. Let's slowly savor it. I understand, Luo Feng smiled. At this time, ambition, law comprehension, techniques, and everything else was tossed aside. All he wanted to do was to relax and drink until he was drunk. Luo Feng lay in his bed and opened his eyes, after which he sat up. Shaking his head, he laughed. The feeling of getting drunk sure is wonderful, it's a rare thing to enjoy. He pushed open the door and walked out. This was a yard within True Yang's residence. He had drunk with his teacher before and got drunk from just 1 cup. His fighting spirit soared. The winds blew as he looked up at the visible laws that revolved in the skies. I feel clarity like never before, and all my troubles gone. Even though frequently getting drunk would make one troubled and eat away at one's willpower, to the strong, occasionally enjoying it once in a while is a form of release. Luo Feng walked out of the yard and walked about True Yang's residence, meeting the many disciples in name and true disciples, chatting with them for a while. He simultaneously sent a thread of consciousness into the virtual universe to begin his business. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Yuseong Mountain, Luo Feng's villa. Before I head to Ice Hell Star, I better prepare well. Luo Feng sat at his desk and pondered. There were a total of 5 books to the 9-volume manual, and he had already acquired 2 of them. The other 3 were in 3 separate secret regions. According to the guidance he got, at Sector Lord level, he could go get the first one, and the first one was in a distant secret region, within Ice Hell Star. From the information his teacher had given him, he knew just how dangerous this place was. It was a given, this was a test the sitting mountain guest gave to his disciples. As he was clear on all his trump cards, the test given would naturally push him to his limits. Without ample preparation, how could he recklessly enter the area? The entire outer region wars trip. The hunt in Star Tower had 46 battles. I got a total of 2.86 trillion mixed elements worth of treasures. I also got the separation tower, IceNet and ancient clock true treasures. He thought. Among these 3 treasures, the separation tower was worth the least. The other 2 both exceeded at least his 2.86 trillion. Cash was important to emperors. However, to the knights, they mostly bartered with treasures. There were few treasures that could be purchased with cash that were actually useful to them, they required extremely rare items. I cannot sell the 3 treasures, since it would be hard to buy them back. The others are worth 2.86 trillion. Along with the over 300 billion contribution points, and the 100 billion points from the primal sky mountain. How should I use it? Luo Feng pondered. Without a doubt, he had to increase his own strength. Next, he had to leave some trump cards for his family, and lastly, he had to strengthen his little team of warriors. He had a total of 13 warriors under him now. If they weren't Emperor limits, they were Emperor Pinnacle Soul Masters, and every one of them needed strengthening. For example, giving all the Pinnacle Emperors a plant life form. However, Luo Feng couldn't afford something like this. The number may seem like a lot, but the true treasures were much more expensive than this. As he pondered, Barbata shouted on his shoulder, "Luo Feng, there's a mail. It's from the Primal Chaos City Leader." The City Leader. Luo Feng was shocked, immediately tapping the air. A screen appeared and the mail showed before him. Luo Feng tapped one more time, and read the mail. The details were quite long. The gist of it was, you cannot reveal the secret of Blade River Emperor. Back then the 108 managers of the Hong Alliance may have formally invited you into the alliance, but none of them had the rights to view your footage. Hence, no one knew that you are Blade River. Even though you could enter the alliance as Blade River later on, this didn't prove that you were Blade River. Because the alliance has a practice. Any emperor can be invited straight into the alliance without the managers having a discussion. Only certain special editions require that. Even the 108 managers, they probably all thought Blade River was another emperor being invited in. The member identities of the alliance were all kept secret, as the 108 managers couldn't get detailed information. Especially the strong human warriors, the shrine leaders of the other races will never be able to get the secret information of humanity, only the human shrine leaders can see them. Hence, since you passed the sector Lord Primal Sky Mountain, you can enter the alliance immediately. I will arrange a special location for you within. Every time you enter the alliance, you can pick whether you will enter as Blade River into your little district, or as Luo Feng in the new place. As for the Luo Feng identity, you have extremely high status and privileges. As long as you don't make a mistake, the Hong Alliance will never reveal your identity. You have to remember, you cannot reveal your identity as Blade River for now. The details of the mail were pretty long, of which the warning was severe. It was clear that Blade River's accomplishments had indeed shocked the city leader. For a sector lord to do so much, if the other races knew about it, they definitely wouldn't believe that he had no special encounters, even the city leader wouldn't believe him. He was set to become one of the greatest warriors, the other races would definitely be willing to pay a huge price to kill him. That would be troublesome. I'll have two identities from now on, Blade River and Luo Feng. He laughed at the mail. You should be proud, the city leader personally arranged for you to have two identities in the Hong Alliance. The fist-sized Barbata on his shoulder shouted loudly. Your Blade River identity is after all shocking, as your true strength far exceeds many emperor limits. It's even close to 7 blade and life fall. Back then when I followed your teacher around the universe, we respected such warriors as you, and we didn't dare offend such warriors. Luo Feng was stunned. Hu Yangbo. He couldn't help recall. Hu Yangbo was killed back then by an undying that was barely an emperor. He had remembered that he had to help him take revenge, to repay him for the inheritance. Hu Yangbo had after all given him huge help initially. Without it, he may have still had the chance to become an absolute warrior, but the path would have been completely different. Barbata, back then, who killed the master of the Yunmo planet. Luo Feng asked, you didn't want to say back then, now I'm sure you can tell me. Luo Feng, are you going to take revenge for the master? Barbata was very excited. Luo Feng nodded, after I've made preparations with the treasures in Primal Chaos City, I will visit my home. Once that's done, I'll head to Ice Hell Star. Along the way, I'll go take revenge for the old master. Ha ha, if you go now, it'll be extremely easy. Barbata said, back then the murderer was a low emperor soul master, he's called Suo Luo Pu, or Devil Hand Emperor, as for his strength now, I'm not too sure. Only a few tens of thousands of years have passed, he shouldn't have grown too much. Devil Hand, Suo Luo Pu. Luo Feng muttered, he had never heard of this name before. One thing at a time. I'll first head to Hong Alliance City and sell and buy items. After that, I'll research about him. Even though he couldn't care less about a low emperor, he still had to study his enemy well enough to prevent allowing him to escape later on. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Virtual Universe, Hong Alliance City. There were many small districts within the city, and every one with at most 10,000 residents. Even though the spaces were separated fairly, as long as one had power, there would never be absolute fairness. Some small districts had True Yang, Heavenly Feather, Seven Blade, such beings. The price and value of these districts would soar. After all, to be able to get close to such beings allowed people to become friends with them easier. This is my new district. Luo Feng walked out from the stairs and looked outside. Luo Feng. How do you do, Your Majesty? Luo Feng. Two calls resounded. Luo Feng turned to look. One human and another race warrior walked side by side. The human had short blue hair, and his eyes were blue too. He was dressed in a simple armor, and his face had unsteady blue engravings. His smile was friendly. You are Dreamfire Emperor. Luo Feng was stunned. He had checked up on some absolute beings of humanity. Even though there was only a small amount of information online, it all came with pictures and footage. Your teacher True Yang was in this district back then too, now he's in the inner city. He smiled. Your Majesty Luo Feng, this is one of the top 3 districts of the Hong Alliance City, the strongest emperors are all here. The other race warrior, who was beside him, spoke. Dreamfire introduced, this is Nansha Emperor of the Tuolma race. He's the most exceptional emperor of the younger generation in his race. Nansha Emperor said, that's too much, to compliment me before His Majesty, I'm ashamed. Luo Feng looked carefully at Nansha, as he had definitely heard of him before. The two may not be the same race, but they were on good terms and were life or death brothers. They often explored together. Dreamfire was simple and honest and hardly used power to pressure others, and it wasn't easy to enrage him. But Nansha was the opposite. He may seem simple too, in truth, he was ferocious, at least hundreds of times stronger than Life Fall or Black Tomb. His reputation was built from massacre. Such a bloodthirsty fellow actually looks that simple. Luo Feng thought. You really cannot judge a book by its cover, one is so friendly while the other is ferocious, yet they are life or death partners, how interesting. This little district, looks like there are truly many powerful warriors. Luo Feng thought. He walked about the district, the number of absolute beings far exceeded that of Blade River's district. It had a total of over 8,000 warriors, with close to 1,000 emperor limits, and there were quite a few other terrifying beings like Dreamfire and Nansha and so on. Luo Feng's name was huge now. Anyone able to pass the Primal Sky Mountain was set to become a terrifying being. Even Dreamfire and Nansha were that courteous to him, much less the other emperors. Luo Feng browsed the entire street, and got familiar with it. Once others had known that Luo Feng was in this district, he returned to his own villa on Yuseong Mountain, beginning to plan what to do with the spoils of his battles. After staying in Primal Chaos City for over a month, he kept only a few of the treasures from the battles, like some items that were good for recovery of the undying bodies, etc. Many of the warriors he killed had such items, he naturally kept them, along with 3 top-class ships. He sold everything else and begun his huge spending spree, to buy for his team, his family, himself, until there was only about 100 billion left. Only then did he leave Primal Chaos City happily. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Solar System, a majestic palace was floating in space protecting Earth. This palace far exceeded the size of Earth. Within its first level, there was a fixed pathway that connected the Virtual Universe Company camp along with the huge Axe camp, the Universe First Bank, Universe Galaxy Bank, and the Universe Mercenary Alliance. Hua, one of the pathways lit up with light. Someone's coming. Someone from the Virtual Universe Company is coming. The guard team of 10 Sector Lord were all respectful. Anyone able to take this pathway would either have to be extremely strong, or had high status. They all looked on curiously at a black armored youth that walked out alone. It's His Majesty Luo Feng. The sector lords immediately recognized him. Half of the rights of Earth belonged to him. How could they not recognize him? Your Majesty. They all bowed respectfully. Luo Feng nodded and glanced at them. You've stood guard over the solar system for 10,000 years. Has there been anything special? Nothing, everything is normal. The leading sector lord replied respectfully. Luo Feng nodded and teleported, vanishing from sight. Teleportation. Only sector lord and yet he can teleport. He is truly too impressive. Don't you know, he just passed the sector lord Primal Sky Mountain. I heard that anyone who passes that would have 100 billion points in reward. 100 billion. I haven't even got 100 mixed elements yet. The group was all stunned. Even though these sector lords that were within the 5 Leviathans were much better off than the lone wolves, their wealth was still pitiful. Compared to an absolute warrior like Luo Feng, easily spending over 2 trillion mixed elements before, normal sector lords were nothing but ants to him. He could easily kill them. In the space above Earth. Who? Luo Feng appeared, turning to look at the majestic palace in the solar system, he sighed. After which he rushed into the atmosphere. This is Earth, invader, please identify yourself. A little ship suddenly appeared within the atmosphere. He sent out sharp ripples that pierced through his earths, using universe language. What's going on? Luo Feng frowned, after which he used world energy to swiftly check, covering the entire Earth. There were many little such ships hidden throughout the entire Earth. Also, above the Atlantic Ocean, Pacific etc. many luxurious floating palaces stood there. In them all sorts of races, winged humans, ape man etc. all lived. It's changed. Luo Feng was stunned. When I become a true power, I will definitely take the Earth back. Luo Feng thought, even if I have to pay a huge price, it'd be worth it. Please identify yourself. The little ship continued. Luo Feng frowned and glanced at it, roaring, "Get lost." His voice shot out like a shockwave, instantly destroying the ship and leaving it in fragments. I know you can see me. Luo Feng stood there and said coldly, but remember this is Earth and we own half of it. Luo Feng coming to Earth, is not for you to supervise. This will never happen again. He rushed down. Earth, within a huge floating city, lived hundreds of millions of residents, within a particular skyscraper. This was the headquarters of the immigrants. Within a control room stood 2 middle-aged men and a lady. They all watched the screen. On it displayed Luo Feng speaking in mid-air. That Luo Feng sure is arrogant. The green-armored winged man said coldly, what's his deal? He is only a disciple of the primal chaos city leader. Doesn't he know that those that have moved here are under the huge Axe Dojo, and virtual universe companies people too? And many have universe masters behind them. Earth was a special nurturing basket. Each slot to move here was extremely expensive. Many universe masters had paid the price to let their elites come here, and the status required to get here was extremely high. Control yourself. Another 4-armed middle-aged man said, Luo Feng is the disciple of the city leader. He's not someone you can mess with, and he just passed the Primal Sky Mountain. He may become a knight eventually. Even though those that come here have huge backgrounds are after all just that, it doesn't represent their own strength. When Luo Feng becomes a knight, do you think you can even withstand his blows? I'm after all still an emperor. At least right now, I can still deal with him. The green-armored man said coldly. Shut up. The lady ordered. There are strict orders that forbid challenging Luo Feng. Humph. The green-armored man looked through the glass at the ocean below. Such a beautiful planet, yet it's owned by rubbish. Our huge Axe Dojo hasn't been firm enough. We should have assassinated that Luo Feng back then the Earth would be ours. Shut up. The lady ordered. If you wish to die, don't drag me along. The other 4-armed man turned and left. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Asian, Yangju City, Luo Feng's residence. This residence had a history of over 10,000 years. it was steep in meaning and culture. Ever since it received news of Luo Feng returning, the upper echelon and elites all rushed back, all wanting to see the family leader Luo Feng. I didn't expect that the house I lived in back then is still doing well. Look, this was the layout back then, even now, it's still the same. Luo Feng walked with his wife and 2 sons along. We kept it this way over the 10,000 years. Of course it's still like that. Shushin joked. Luo Ping laughed along too, only Luo Hai's expression wasn't too happy. Luo Hai. Luo Feng looked at his son. Dad. He replied. What's the matter? Luo Feng asked. No, it's just the return to Earth that pissed me off. Luo Hai said unhappily. Beside him Shushin frowned at him, silencing him. Speak. Luo Feng said directly, he had somewhat guessed. It's those immigrants. He raged. When I returned, I took my ship directly into Earth from space. They actually stopped me. I still went along with them initially. Who'd expect them to take me to their floating city and lock me in there for half a day? Only later on did someone come tell me saying it was a mistake. This was obviously all part of their plan. That is considered okay. Luo Ping sighed. Brother, you've been staying here all this while, you know little about the family matters. During the later parts of when Dad vanished for over 6,000 years, this wasn't our Earth at all. It was purely the territory of the immigrants. They all came over to our land like we were some goods, all acting arrogant, not showing us any respect. Which one of us would dare mess with them? No one, we could only swallow our pride. However, despite all this, they still haven't dared to chase us away. Luo Ping sighed. Chase you all away? Luo Feng's expression changed. Back then he had signed a deal with the Virtual Universe Company. It stated clearly that the floating immigrants couldn't disrupt the lives of the humans of Earth. Now it was extensive bullying. Dad, the deal you signed before told us that too. Luo Ping shook his head. But it's useless. Despite all that, they are still arrogant and brash, bullying us Earthlings. But they all say, they are only making friends with us, not disrupting our lives. What can we do? It's hard to clarify such matters. Luo Feng's expression was ugly. He was indeed offended when he returned this time. It was obvious that the group of immigrants were incredibly arrogant, to act like that towards him, much less the others. Luo Feng. Shushin said softly, these immigrants all have huge backgrounds. They are involved with the super families of the universe. I heard that many are straight from the upper echelon of the huge Axe Dojo and Virtual Universe Company. Humph. Luo Feng raged. Back then the huge Axe founder had found the special qualities of Earth, the pinnacle beings and the super families sending their elites was totally understandable. These elites were naturally proud. With such huge backgrounds, they obviously believed, would one Luo Feng dare offend so many of us? Luo Feng, calm down. Shushin said. Relax, I won't go crazy. Many thoughts flashed through his mind. Dad, since you passed the Primal Sky Mountain, they've actually controlled themselves a little, it's not too overboard. Luo Ping said. What do you mean not too overboard? They have no right to bully us. Luo Feng frowned. Even though he was incredibly enraged within, at this time, he hadn't found the right solution to deal with the problem. Go back and rest, let me think. Luo Feng said. Luo Ping and Luo Hai exchanged glances and left, leaving Shushin with Luo Feng. As they walked away, Luo Ping couldn't help but say, Brother, why'd you tell Dad about this? He just passed his life or death inheritance and got back safely, yet you spoke of such matters. Wouldn't that completely endanger him? Don't you know how terrifying the backgrounds of these immigrants are? I just couldn't take it anymore. Luo Hai said weakly. Can't take it. How many times have you returned over the years? You've been exploring the universe for so long and you are now a sector lord. With the many treasures and techniques Dad prepared for you, you yourself are powerful. Also, for your safety, Mum even prepared an undying plant life form for you, not mentioning your strength, with just your statues, which warrior would dare mess with you? You've gotten so used to having it your way, you haven't suffered before. But Dad is different from you. He is the pillar of our Luo family, he is the pillar of Earth. The stronger he grows, the more jealousy will occur. He's been eyed by the many other races of the universe, and all of them want to kill him. His exploring of the universe is constantly met with life or death situations. Can't you let him relax when he returns? It's just some bullying. Those of us here being bullied have just endured it. As long as Dad keeps getting stronger, they would naturally lose their guts. When he passed the primal sky mountain, they've already controlled themselves quite a bit. Just bear with it, until Dad becomes an absolute being of the universe, then all these will vanish. Luo Ping looked at his younger brother. As his family members, we shouldn't trouble him, Dad is tired enough. Luo Hai was regretful. I just couldn't stand it. Who can? Luo Ping shook his head. The world runs this way, whoever's fist is bigger is stronger. Those immigrants, many have terrifying backgrounds. I heard that they are linked straight to the upper echelons of the virtual universe company and the huge axe dojo. The upper echelon. Which one of those princes would even consider us? They are only wary of Dad. Luo Hai nodded. Just wait until Dad becomes an absolute being, then they will all obediently follow. Luo Ping sighed. He didn't wish for their father to do something now. The saying went as such, the king of hell was easier to deal with than an imp. The powerful great beings have lived for eternity, their families stretching over millions of eras. As for their later generations, how many of them have personally seen the founders of their family? The universe masters. Even though they haven't seen them, the pride in their bones was ingrained. Just like how the Luo family had Luo Feng, they all exuded pride and were proud of him. And the founders of these families were all universe masters, it was easy to imagine their pride. And on Earth, these princes formed a huge group. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Pacific Ocean, within the huge floating city. What's that Luo Feng's deal? The winged green man sat in his throne, rubbing the seat rest as his eyes gleamed fiercely. Master, don't be angry. A simple robed lady with purple hair smiled and walked over. He is the disciple of the primal chaos city leader, it's natural that he's proud. However, no matter how proud he is, he cannot do a thing against us. The immigrants of the floating city here come from the 5 Leviathans. With many the disciples of universe masters' families, even though they are but the later generations, they still aren't people Luo Feng can deal with. Only then did the man reveal a smile. With a wave, the purple-haired lady flew over and landed in his lap. They were about to engage in intimacy right there. Suddenly, a voice resounded, Jie Li Emperor. HM. The green-armored man frowned and looked outside, hugging the lady. He was dissatisfied. Feng Chen Emperor, what's the matter? A 4-armed man walked into the hall, his voice booming, Jie Li, no matter what, Luo Feng is still part of our virtual universe company, and he's the disciple of the primal chaos city leader. Don't go overboard. If things get messy, will you be able to deal with it? I don't believe he dares mess with me. Jie Li stood up fiercely. Humph. Feng Chen looked coldly at him. Jie Li, be clear on this, even though you are the later generation of a universe master, your family has been around for trillions of years. The members have reached countless numbers, even though we are emperors, and we are the elites of the family, however the true elites wouldn't have been arranged to Earth to protect a group of infants. Jie Li was about to interrupt. Let me ask you, have you seen the founder Void Gold Master before? Feng Chen asked. Jie Li's expression was ugly. Even I haven't seen him before. Feng Chen sighed. To the universe masters, the Zisai family has countless people within, what are we? It's better to stay low profile. However, you have to see whose dog you are beating. The immigrants here are all considered elites from the many universe masters, nobody would dare mess with us. Feng Chen said. But you shouldn't get too arrogant, treating the Earth humans one way is okay, but to Luo Feng, you'd still have to show him some respect. That challenge earlier wasn't worth it at all, who doesn't know his appearance? Yet you still purposely made him identify himself, he would easily see through this. Enough. Jia Li's expression was ugly. It's just one Luo Feng. He's only a sector lord now. I don't believe he'd get much stronger anyway. Do you think becoming strong is that easy? Every step is filled with danger. The better he performs, the more the other races would want to kill him. Not just the dangers, just the law comprehension required to become a knight is incredibly tough. Even the group of disciples under the primal chaos city leader, even a bunch of them haven't become knights. Don't bug me, it's only because that Luo Feng is part of the virtual universe company just like you. That's why you are helping him by speaking for him. Humph. Feng Chen's expression changed and he left immediately. Jia Li watched the scene and snorted coldly. Proud earthling. Jia Li looked out at the vast space, gazing at the earthlings below. Even if you have Luo Feng behind you, that cannot change your low bloodline. When he falls, I want to see your look of despair. When that happens, I'll make sure you all leave Earth. Luo Feng. Let's see how long you can stay proud. He was filled with anger within. Since he was not respected within his family, his hatred and dissatisfaction brewed, and Luo Feng was a shining star, compared to him. He naturally couldn't stand it, and he wished to see Luo Feng's look of despair. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Virtual universe, chaos energy engulfed the palace at the peak of Thunder Island. Luo Feng entered respectfully. Teacher. He bowed respectfully. Is something the matter? The city leader's voice resounded. I have a favor to ask of teacher. Luo Feng replied respectfully. A silhouette walked out from the energies. A gold-robed city leader said, You experienced quite a lot of danger in the outer region wars, yet you've never come to see me. You are naturally not the type to ask for help. Speak, what's the matter? The city leader had indeed favored Luo Feng a lot more now. Ever since he displayed his strength, to so easily kill Emperor limits, even matching black tea. It made the city leader realize. This disciple of his was still hiding other things. Otherwise, no matter how talented a sector lord was, even with the general armor, even with law comprehension reaching the 20th level, he still wouldn't be able to kill an emperor limit so easily. Much less exchange blows with black tea. He wasn't bothered about his disciple hiding things from him, as everyone had their own secrets. He understood that there were some things he didn't wish to share. He also realized that Luo Feng's future achievements would be shocking, hence he personally cleaned up the mess and gave him another identity of Blade River. It's like this, when I returned to Earth, there were many things that happened. I realized that the other immigrants have created trouble for our Earth humans. Luo Feng said respectfully. I had no other way, hence I came to seek your help. He had come to seek his help. He said it blatantly. The city leader, with his status, wouldn't get angry about this. If Luo Feng had to beat about the bush, that would in fact irritate him. Such a small matter, right? The immigrants come from many powerful families, you better not mess with them. I'll give out an order. The city leader nodded. I know you value your family and fellow Earth humans. I will settle these things for you. Don't bother about such matters. What you need to do is become strong. Yes, teacher, I will do my best. Luo Feng was gleeful, as his teacher's response was simple and straight to the point. Go on. The city leader nodded. Luo Feng bowed respectfully and left. The city leader smiled as he watched his disciple leave. He had never come to ask for help before, and yet now when he did, it was over such a small matter. Caring for his fellow humans and family, such character, as long as humanity treats him well, he will naturally fight to the death for us. The city leader nodded. There were several traitorous warriors of humanity. The moment they got strong, they wouldn't even care about their own race's safety. Just like how Yang Di, the leader of the Yang Shan race, was originally from humanity, however he chose to leave humanity with his race and become his own power. This had enraged many pinnacle beings of humanity, but Yang Di's power was huge, and he had the great being behind him, hence they could only bear with it. Half a day later, an order was passed on to the palace guarding Earth, and to the managements within the immigrants and the Earth humans. The order was very simple. It stated that no immigrant was to set foot or fly over the Earth territories, and no Earth human was to set foot or fly over the floating city's territories. Anyone that went against it were to be killed. What? The green armored youth who was fooling around with the girl howled when he got the order. This video will end here.